originally, a lot of my research was trying to look at how we can improve what we eat. And I was in London just this week in a big fair where I saw all the incredible improvements in protein, removal of sugar, salt, and fat, and even things like eating insects that the industry has been thinking of to make us eat healthily, make us eat better food. The problem is that most people don't want to eat these new food. And let me tell you, the insects, for example, were not so easy to gulp down. And there's another problem, which is that if you think the food is healthier, for whatever reason, maybe because it's lower in fat or gluten-free, we have a tendency to stereotype the food as healthy in general and to imagine that it has all these fantastic properties, including the fact that we can eat more without getting fat. So these are the two problems with just focusing on what we eat. A lot of my more recent research has been looking not just at what we eat, but how much we eat. How do we make sense of the sizes of portions and packages and bottles that are around us? And how do we choose between small, medium, and large? And this is, I think, a very interesting area because focusing on how much we eat, we can keep the food we like and we know. We don't need to eat insects. But we can go back to what used to be the regular portions of not so long ago. And if we do that, I've shown in my research it can be a triple win for consumer health because we go back to more regular portions, for companies' growth as well because companies can charge more for less food, and also from a eating enjoyment perspective because actually the pleasure when you eat doesn't come from quantity, it comes from quality, it comes from focusing on small size, regular sizes. In a prior INSEAD knowledge video, I explained that our brain is very bad at geometry. When you double the size of any object, it doesn't look twice as big, it looks about 70% bigger. And let me do a demonstration of why this is happening. So in this study, for example, we told people here you have 37 chocolate candies. Try to estimate how many you have in the medium portion and in the large portion. The truth here is 150, and these were people who were incentivized to be as accurate as possible. So they were really very motivated. They said about 100, so they missed 1/3. And here, there are 600 chocolate candies, and people, their best estimate was 300. They missed half of it. There was a massive underestimation of the number of chocolate candies when this number was increasing. Now, we had another group of people who were looking at the same 3 cups here, but we, instead of giving them the number of candies in the small one, we told them, let's start from the big one. Here we have 600. And try to guess how many candies we have in the medium one and in the small one. And these people were spookingly accurate. They were 10% above the truth in the medium condition, and in the small condition, they estimated the number of candies to be 38, and the reality was 37. So they were incredibly accurate. And we thought a lot about why is it that we're so bad at estimating increases and so good at spotting decreases. And then really what we realized is that when quantities are decreasing, we know that they can never be negative. So we have this boundary, this benchmark of 0, which we don't have when we have to estimate increasing quantities, which could go up to infinity. And so that explains this asymmetry, which we call the accuracy of less. And it's something that we all make. Even chefs and professional servers in the Bocuse Institute in Lyon made the same mistake. We are much better at estimating decreasing quantities than increasing one. And this actually explains a lot of what's going on when companies are trying to downsize. I mean, portions have increased tremendously. A pizza, a cookie today, a can of soda is so much bigger than it used to be, and nobody cares. But when you try to shave 10% of the weight of any product, suddenly it literally makes the headline news. And part of it is, of course, because if you reduce the size, it's a loss. But we don't respond the same way when price increases, which is also a loss. And I think a big part of what's going on is that it's just perceptually easier to notice losses than to notice increases in quantity. The obvious way to improve judgment is to make it loud and clear on the package, on the bottle, how much there is. Because people don't look for that information, it's often hidden. And just last week, I bought this bottle. I thought it was interesting. And as I was consuming it, and of course I had opened the tap, I tried to find how much there is. And really, I couldn't find anywhere. Actually, to find out, you need to go and look behind it, which is not exactly super accurate. So why are companies not making it easier for people to realize how much there is? Because that would be the first solution. The second solution to help people estimate quantities better is, instead of estimating quantities visually, to actually pour manually how much there is. So let me demonstrate this. In one study, we told people there are 12 centiliters here of iced tea. Guess what is the volume of iced tea in this medium and in this large portion. And the reality was 18 and 23 centiliters, and again, people underestimated. Instead of 18, they said 15. Instead of 23, on average, they said 18. So it's as if people thought the large glass contains only as much as the medium one. So again, a big underestimation. Now, we had another group of people. We didn't ask these people to estimate volume, centiliters, things like that. What we said was the following. We gave them still the 12 centiliter glass, and we gave them an empty one. And we said, try to add iced tea until you reach either 18 or 23 centiliters. And just by pouring this, you'll notice there's something very salient in my mind, which is that I don't want to overpour. I don't want to spill it on the table. And what it does is that it makes the top of the glass very salient, and it gives people a benchmark, because they'll say, yeah, I think this is 25 centiliter glass, etc. So when regular consumers, or even the chef and servers at the Bocuse Institute in Lyon, had to pour instead of estimate volume, they became super accurate. So that is the second solution. Don't try to just estimate the numbers like that abstractly in your head, but if you do it with your hand and you pour it into a container, you'll be much more accurate. The thing to remember is that consumers don't really think about quantity. They want a normal. They don't have a preference for a specific amount. They have a relative preference. So for example, if you go to Starbucks and you want to drink iced tea or iced coffee, you have a choice between a small, a medium, and large, and an extra large. First of all, they're not even called that way. So you can decide how you call them. You can call the small one the tall, as they do. And that's totally fine. And that's actually smart. The other idea is to realize that consumers have a preference for a regular. So we did this study at INSEAD where people either had to choose between 4 sizes, or we either removed the small one, and then we have small, medium, large, or we remove the large one, and we have small, medium, large, still being called small, medium, large, but meaning something totally different. And obviously, when we remove the big one, people chose less, and when we remove the small one, they tended to choose more. What's very interesting is to look at what happened to people who used to take the second one here. This is about 16 ounces. If I remove the small one, 16 ounces is still available. If they really had a preference for 16 ounces, they shouldn't change. Now, what we found is that actually 1/3 of the people who chose this one, when we removed the small one, upsized to this one here, which is 65% bigger. Why did they do that? Because they didn't really have a preference for 16 ounces. They wanted a regular. 16 ounces used to be a medium. Now that I removed the small, the old medium is the new small, and people don't want a small, they want a regular. And so in terms of practical implication, I would say to marketers, remove the big one and add a small one. You can add even a tiny one. Even if no one buys it, it will just redefine what a normal size is. And by the way, this thing that looks really ridiculously small, it is the regular size that we use here at INSEAD for a coffee break. It's 10 centiliters. It's perfectly fine for an espresso. And it just shows how we've totally lost control and meaning of what a normal size is. We've totally forgot that this here used to be, not so long ago, a regular size for coffee. And actually today, it's roughly the amount of coffee you spill from the really big one. So what I want to say is very simple. If you go back to the basics of economics, there's price and quantity. Don't just think about price. Think about quantity as degree of freedom. And think about what is a perfect size that would give your customers the better value. And don't just go for increasing size, but try to find the right balance between price and quantity. Thank you, Rachel. Cheers.